This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
.07 at WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast, and you're on Ask a Rabbi.
And this is Rabbi Shafir Loeb of Congregation Eitz Chayim, your Jewish home on the Treasure Coast. And this is a beautiful Florida Friday. We are into the weekend. Yay. Gotta love that, right? So let me just do the technology here real quickly. Share. Okay.
Do you need the hand crank?
I certainly do, you
There
know.
you go.
More options. So give me the options, folks. Okay, we're in one of those moods phone, aren't we? Share now. Okay. There we go. Now we're live. Okay. We are live, but it's just a matter of getting it in all the different places. Okay. Welcome to the world. At least I wasn't... the joys of remembering there are cameras in the world. And
Only 6 of them in here.
yeah, I know. Well, don't forget.
Well, not counting yours.
Yeah, don't forget Mevo. Yeah, Mr.
Yeah.
We call him Mr. Mevo.
There you go.
Never mind. We won't talk about why we call him Mr. Mevo. But
You know, that is not correct now.
Mr. Mevo.
Mister,
Yeah.
you cannot use.
Can't use Mr. or Ms. or.
No, no more.
Actually, somebody showed me a coffee cup that was kind of cute. It had Ms., Miss, Mrs., and all slashed out, and underneath it says Doctor.
I like that.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I always find it interesting. So there are a number of students who call me Mrs. Loeb or Miss Loeb or what, and no, Rabbi or Doctor, both of those are fine, and yeah. No, after you work for that degree, you get a sense of why it's valuable.
I get it.
It's a chunk of life.
Yeah, I get it.
And
You bet.
yeah. So people should get acknowledgement for what they do. So, I was listening to Ask a Lawyer on the way in. I had a topic to talk about. And I do want to remind folks that we do have the plant sale this weekend. Lots of interesting things. I've got some red chicken gizzards.
Now, I saw that on...
Are they pretty?
Those are not... You're not talking chicken gizzards.
No. It's called
is a
chicken
plant.
gizzard. It's a plant. And we've had the...
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, we've had the yellow in the past, and this time we have the red. I also have second-generation Florida-grown Roma tomatoes.
Ooh.
And why that's important is because they come from a tomato grown here. So we can assume that they're a little bit more acclimated. Florida heat is a challenge. So let me just real quickly say a couple of things. Tomatoes, I learned a lot from when we started this COVID journey, and I was talking about growing things because it just seemed to fit, and obviously I've continued to latch on to it. Bringing back old days of managing a flower shop. But tomatoes need 6 hours of sunlight, but they don't need 8 or 10. So they should be put in some place in your home where they get some respite from the sun.
I never knew that.
Yeah, they need a good 6 hours of daylight. And it can be indirect. It doesn't have to be direct sun. Direct sun is fine, as long as they have a time to recuperate and cool off.
Of course, and tomatoes grown in South Florida have a New York accent.
No argument. The further south you go, the more New York it sounds.
That's right.
Until it starts sounding Cubish.
Yep.
Or Cuban, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
The joys of Florida accents. And we certainly don't have most of us here in Port St. Lucie don't have a southern accent. I can put one on if I need to, but I don't normally have one. That comes from living in South Carolina.
There you go.
Yeah. Y'all. And so we can do that. I can speak Southern. And I understand what it means with bless your heart. I totally get that. So, back to the plants. When I started with the tomatoes, the challenge, of course, is understanding the local. We live in a very southern. We're not the most southern. We're a 9A or 10A. We're right on the edge of that, depending on where in Port St. Lucie you live. And what that means is that plants don't get the freeze. They also don't get the cool nights come summer.
Oh, that's very true.
Right. This part, and Arizona had that. So some similarities and some differences in Arizona, in Tucson. I was able to grow lilacs, my absolutely favorite plant. I brought a number of small lilac bushes with me from Ohio, transplanting vegetation from one area to another. They certainly are not invasive in Arizona, because in Arizona they have to be grown in shade. They get more than enough sun. They can't handle the unrelenting sun. Our sun is hard, but it's not quite unrelenting. The heat and the humidity are unrelenting in Florida, and so you need to give the plant a place to get some aeration, some movement of air, and some respite from the sun. In Arizona, I'm not sure you could grow tomatoes, but I never tried, I confess. There you probably have to grow them in the shade.
Oh, I just thought they came from fries.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
Got it. Okay.
Blew that one up.
So anyway,
what are the hours
back
of
to
the sale?
the plant sale is Sunday and Monday from 1 to 4 p.m. And that's at 540 Northwest University Boulevard, Suite 102. It's the blue office buildings where the front, right next to the elevator or stairs, there'll be some signs on the window. You can find it. It'll say plant sale today in orange and yellow signs.
Yep, and look for Met Stadium,
Yeah.
which is across the street and right next to South County Stadium. And, the building is literally next to South County.
Yeah, it is. It's between that and the self-storage.
Yep.
So it's easy to find it, and there's a number of different agencies in the office complex. We're the front building, front-facing. So very easy to find, and lots of different plants that we'll have. There's several hundred on my front patio right now waiting to go to the temple for the sale.
Cool.
Lots of different things. Some things that we don't normally see. And this morning, one of my Paris daisies is open, so people will be able to see the very cute it's a little tiny daisy. It's about 1 inch to 1.5 inches in diameter. And the plant is short. It grows quite well. So, yeah. When I used to manage the flower shop in the climes of Pennsylvania, there I used to tell people that they often have to give a plant more sun than they would think, because the sun is at such an angle in Pennsylvania that the plants don't get enough daylight. But here it's the opposite problem. They get more than enough typically. So they might well do where they only get a few hours a day. I have a trumpet plant in my front area, but it's well shaded because it doesn't do so well in the bright sun. It does one of those numbers.
So do people in Pennsylvania bring their plants down with them when they come down as
Some of them do.
snowbirds?
Some of them do, and that's
I'll bet they do.
That's part of how we get some of the invasive species.
Oh, I
Right, is
never
that
thought of that.
people bring things in because they either love the plant or because they don't understand that in Florida, where we don't have the frost, a lot of things don't die, like fleas don't die.
Ooh,
Now,
yeah.
some of them do go to hibernation with their they don't hibernate, but the animal they're on does. But you want possums in your yard because they eat ticks and fleas. So, yeah. Love those little possums. They're cute. They do not get rabies, folks. All right, that's enough of gardening. So come visit us. Plant sale Sunday and Monday, this Sunday and Monday from 1 to 4. And we are running a sale because I've got an overabundance of plants, and I think everybody else does as well. We've all been growing. We didn't have a plant sale in April, so plenty of things are going right now. And I need room. So
There you go.
got to
Cool.
sell some of those. All right, so that's the plant sale. And as I said, I was listening to Stuart's show with Ask a Lawyer, And obviously the discussion of weaponry and guns came to mind. And there were two thoughts that came into my mind. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I am prior military. I have fired a weapon. I fired it expert. Yeah, I'm not anti-owning a weapon, but, and here's the big but. So my thought as I pulled into the parking lot is that a woman's vagina is more regulated than weapons.
Oh no! Now you've really kicked the door open.
Well, seriously, what a woman can do with her body is much more regulated than what somebody can do with a gun in our country, or a weapon. And we all have a right, if you will, to own a car. Not guaranteed by the Constitution, because cars didn't exactly exist back then. And we haven't changed anything. But we do require licenses.
You bet.
Right? We regulate, and Florida actually regulates it a lot, the ownership of a car, the driving of a car, a driver's license. And it doesn't violate one's right to a weapon to require that somebody who has it go through a gun safety, not just a 5-minute on the computer kind of gun safety, but a real, in-person gun safety kind of lesson. Learn, I can't help but think that the tragedy in Stewart's family could have been avoided if somebody had a gun safety lesson. There was one, I distinctly remember, of all the things that I remember about firing the weapon in the military, was when we were first issued the weapons, and I was a little bit casual, not horribly casual, but a little bit casual with my weapon. And man, there were people all over me having a discussion with me.
I'll bet.
I didn't do anything that would have harmed anybody, but they weren't going to let me get there.
Well, yeah.
Right?
You bet.
And it wasn't going in that direction. It was simply the way I was resting the weapon on something while I was holding it. And but yeah, you don't have absolute full control when you rest your weapon unless it's rested properly.
I remember in our ROTC unit at Loyola UNLA, one of the guys put the rifle on his footlocker and leaned it against his footlocker.
Ooh, the leaning would get everybody's attention.
And
big time.
And my old roommate ran the ROTC unit, and he was a basketball player. I'd never seen him move that quickly as he did when he saw that occur. And
latched onto it, and yeah.
In like the situation with you, he ultimate lecture for this guy.
And you don't forget those, you really don't. And the thing that I think Americans need to look at, we have in America more civilian-owned weapons, are you ready for this, folks, than we have people.
Wait a minute.
We have, per 100,000 people, civilians, we have 142,000 weapons. That was just published on a reputable source. You can Google it. Guns to people. We have the highest ratio of the entire planet.
Wow.
By far. And that alone is part of the problem. And as Stuart said, I can't imagine any, you don't need a double full mag to kill a deer. If you do, you need to go back to school and learn how to shoot.
I was going to say, don't we have shooting ranges around here?
We do. We have plenty of shooting ranges.
Yeah.
And I have friends who I don't have the time to keep my proficiency up with weapons. It's not that high on my list that I can somehow squeak it into the crazy schedule that I keep. But I'm not the least bit opposed to people target shooting, keeping their skills up. I'm not opposed to people owning weapons. But let's be real, you don't need that double mag cartridge. You just don't.
Okay, I've got a question with everything that's going on at synagogues. What about, is there anybody armed?
You know, a number of synagogues do have armed guards. There's always been an element of armed guards, particularly around the high holy days, because there's a chunk of people, and despite the wonderful principles of our country, there are haters.
Yeah.
And there are people who have aggressed, certainly. And there's all kinds of... but do I want everybody running around the temple with an assault rifle? I think it would destroy the tone.
Yeah, you think?
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we do have somebody, we have Pat from PSL on line 1. Thank you for calling, Pat.
Yeah, I'm glad you listened to Stuart this morning, and I'm glad that you have handled a firearm, and I bet it was probably a rifle. And the thing about registering firearms for the general public of America, when you do that, you automatically show, tell, give information to the federal government, state government, city government, who has what. And it's really none of their business unless you have a firearm and misuse it. That's just my opinion.
Okay, so...
And as far as Stewart's brother-in-law, I'm sorry as heck about that. But they were drinking, and when he says his friend was showing him his new gun, that makes me think that maybe the guy has other guns, and we should have known how to handle the gun. Number one, don't be under the influence of anything.
Thank you, Pat, and I absolutely agree with you that one should not handle a firearm or drive a car under the influence of anything.
Exactly. Yep.